Hey, good afternoon, Mr. Dickey. Mr. Dickey is the principal at the Effingham County Middle School. But go ahead and introduce yourself once again, Mr. Dickey.
Yeah. As Ms. Pointe said, I'm Travis Dickey. I'm the principal at Effingham County Middle School.
Well, thank you so much for taking this opportunity for me to interview you for my assignment. And before we get started, let me just go ahead and just state real quick. A lot of my questions are going to be based off two articles that I've read, and the articles is playing the game, sports as a force of promoting improved academic performance for urban youth, as well as sports participation collaborated with academic achievements. So those are the two articles I've read to pull my questions from. And what my focus is on is being a spokesperson for the youth. So with that being said, my focus is on having a balance between academics as well as sports. And you, from what I've heard, or you are slash were head of the sports department of some sort. Is that correct?
Yeah, before I was a principal at middle school, I was an athletic director at South Haven High School. I did that for 6 years. Also, background when I was teaching, I taught high school English, but I also coached basketball primarily, but also coached football, wrestling, and baseball for a few years. So yeah, that's my sports background. Of course, as principal of middle school, we have an athletic director, but I guess technically I'm also responsible for all things athletic as well.
Well, awesome. Well, let's just cut to the chase and get to where I want to go. So, as being a teacher and a new teacher, if that, I've noticed that a lot of the youth do get pulled for sporting events. Is that correct?
We do have, I couldn't tell you the numbers exactly,
But
but we have quite a number of students that are involved in football, softball, volleyball, here in fall, as we say.
so, as an advocate for youth, I'm advocating saying, hey, how do I have a balance between academics and sports? So, if I miss so many days, how am I accountable for what I've missed?
Yeah, we follow both the middle school and the high school level in Effingham County, and pretty much all counties follow something similar. We have an eligibility rule that we follow. Actually, the Georgia High School Association dictates eligibility rules for high school, and then the Effingham County policy is actually slightly more strict than that. So anytime a coach or an athletic director is determined who can participate in the team, they have to pull the eligibility list. On the middle school level, what our rule is students have to pass 5 out of 6 classes. Of course, they have 4 academic classes and then 2 connections classes. Um, and we average the 2 connections classes together, and so they have to, again, like I said, they have to pass 4 out of 5. I guess it's 4 out of 5 with the 2 connections classes averaged together. So that's the academic eligibility. Of course, there's a behavior eligibility rule and an attendance eligibility.
So when I was looking into this, and I just kind of looked at the Board of Education handout, and it pretty much just told me that a student cannot fail at with a 70% or below in one class per semester, and they cannot be repeating a grade that they were in the previous year. Is that true?
Yeah, that's true. But again, like I said, the eligibility was slightly more strict than that. It's just passing the grade is not enough. You have to pass 4 out of 5 classes with those 2 connections classes averaged together. And the way the rule works is it runs semester for 2 semesters. So, like for all fall sports, we would check the eligibility based on the spring semester. So, let's say, for instance, even if a student passed the 6th grade and they failed 2 classes, if they failed two of the 6, then they would not be eligible for any sports that following semester. And then they would have the opportunity to regain eligibility in January, assuming they again pass that 4 out of 5.
Now, has it ever been talked about? Because I know, like my seventh period, were some of my football players. I don't have any tennis players or or softball players, so I can only reference, what I know. If they are not passing, like if they're constantly not passing a test, has there ever been some kind of talk saying, hey, if you don't pass a test, you get benched for the next game? Like somewhere where you have more of an incentive to keep passing your classes?
Yeah, we typically don't do that. Of course, individual coaches have the leeway to do that kind of thing if they so choose. We on the school level, we just follow the eligibility rule as it is. Now there are, of course, there are some specific stipulations with regard to behavior.
Okay.
If a student commits any sort of offense at school that gets them suspended from school, then they're automatically dismissed from all teams that semester. So let's say a child gets caught with a vape, they're suspended and they're automatically dismissed from any team that they're in and for the remainder of that semester. Also, if a student is placed in ISS, then they are not supposed to participate in practice or game on the day when they serve ISS. But as far as passing a test, again, an individual coach could do something like that, but we don't feel like it's appropriate for us to sort of dictate that from the school.
Okay. Now, in one of the articles, playing the game, it stated that sports and athleticism show a high attendance level, higher GPA, lower rates of behavior problem, and school dropouts. So, with that being said, on a positive note, have we ever thought about having some kind of incentive or some kind of almost acknowledgement for the kids who maybe make honor roll plus they play a sport or they're in a club to kind of keep that promotion, like you lead by example?
Yeah. Well, again, that's not something that we have typically done from the school-wide level, but I can tell you every single individual sport, whenever they give awards to their banquets, they always recognize the high GPA award winners. For example, I was at the softball banquet just last night, and they provided four different academic awards.
Oh, okay.
The highest GPA in sixth grade, highest GPA in seventh grade, highest GPA in eighth grade, and the highest overall GPA. And that's pretty common. Most coaches do those kinds of things. So, to be honest with you, it probably means a little bit more to the kids coming directly from their coach, with their parents there to kind of watch them and observe it and all that kind of stuff. Than me, if we provide that from the school level. We do have an awards day at the end of the school year where schools earn quite a number of awards, but we tend not to sort of focus on things.
Okay. Well, another question for you is that in the readings, it does show that sports show structure and offer a form of mentorships. Throughout have we ever thought about maybe possibly having like a mentor, a sports mentor, or somebody who's maybe played semi-professional come and speak to us, or even somebody like a college recruiter come and to show more, hey, this is what you have going on. You've got sports, you've got academics. Well, this is what you can do to get to that next level.
Yeah. That's a great idea, and it's kind of funny that you asked because it's been about 3 or 4 weeks ago. We got an email from the head varsity football coach next door at ECHS, the high school, which is kind of across the bus route from us. And he was asking me if I would be willing to let some of his football players come in and mentor. And he was particularly interested in mentoring athletes who are maybe at risk is maybe a strong word, but sort of on the ball. He wanted to be able to provide mentors for those kids and to help them make good choices. Now, I can tell you, I have no hard data to back this up, but anecdotally, I can tell you that over the years, we've had a number of kids who will behave well and not get sent to the office in season, but after the season's over,
it's another story.
So the idea there is to give those kids some incentive to continue doing the right thing and doing the things their teachers ask them to do even out of season. When that fear of losing playing time is not there. We did have, this is certainly not something that we've done on a regular basis, but a couple of years ago, Josh Reddick plays
Yes.
baseball. He came out one day and he just went into PE classes and played dodgeball with the kids and stuff.
Oh, that's awesome.
You know, again, it's not technically a mentor program, but we're always open to those kinds of things.
So I just have a few more questions for you. So this morning, like we had talked about, you know, I've got nothing better at 4:30 in the morning to do than schoolwork. So on the sports participation that collaborates with academics article that I read, it was interesting that one of the points that a parent had is that sports puts too much pressure on students, and that is why some of their grades do drop. What are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I don't know. I think kids are a lot of times a little more resilient than given credit for. Now, I will say that there are some club sports that end up demanding a lot of students' time. So, in other words, the schools, I don't think, do this, but there are kids that are they might be playing a sport during the week from school and then traveling every weekend to stay in hotels.
That's going to be me pretty soon. Yes. I'll let you know. I'll follow up with you on that one.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that puts some pressure on kids for academics. But in my experience, again, I have no hard data to back this up. In my experience, those kinds of kids perform better than kids that aren't developed. They have to learn how to manage their time, so they'll be pretty good at it.
So, you know, I'm shooting for sports because, you know, I'm a 110% sports person. But what about those people who don't play sports, but they want to do clubs? I know that we offer miniatures club, FFA or 4-H FFA. I know that we do some other clubs that we offer. Do we hold them accountable as if it was sports at a sports level, like in regards to academics, things of that nature?
Yeah, the eligibility rule that applies to athletics also applies to clubs as well. Technically, it's supposed to apply for even if a child wanted to attend a school social or something like that.
Oh, okay.
It's now to be honest with you, we're not quite as good at managing that, just simply because
That's a lot of work
and that kind of thing. But technically, it's supposed to apply to all clubs and all athletics as well as all extracurricular activities as well. Kids are not supposed to be able to attend field trips and things like that if they are not academically or behaviorally eligible.
And my last question for you is that do you feel as though we might need to offer, I know as teachers we need to offer at least one day of tutoring, but do you think that there's any other way that we could possibly help the sports or the club students out a little bit more with other sorts of tutoring or mentoring programs that could help them just take it to that next level? Now, like we had talked about before, this is by no means going outside of this conversation, but have we ever looked at something even a little bit broader, especially since we are a Title I school?
Well, yeah, I wouldn't say that we had any plans to do any of this kind of thing, but I've certainly seen individual coaches who took it upon themselves to develop tutoring programs, or really it was more so like requiring students on their teams to do regular progress checks with teachers, and then if students weren't, or their student athletes had missing assignments or failing grades, then the coaches might have a study hall before practice, and require the kids to go attend tutoring instead of coming to practice and things like that. Because a lot of times, unfortunately, some of these kids they'll have respect for the coach and want to do for the coach when maybe they didn't hear their teacher. So I've seen those programs be effective. I'm not aware of. It's a little hard to do that in most sports because most of the time teams practice right after school. The kids can't drive themselves to and from school.
Good points.
And have to rely on their parents and things like that. But it certainly is a good idea for the coaches to keep track of their grades. And obviously, the teachers oftentimes will reach out to coaches whenever they're having behavioral issues with students, or even academic concerns. Like, say, for instance, a student has 4 missing assignments, and teacher is probably a good technique for a teacher to reach out to the child's coach and say, "Hey, so and so has 4 missing assignments. Can you talk to him about it?" And coaches have their ways
Mhm.
to incentivize kids to get those things done. So we have no formal program like that. We have a lot of different programs going on, so we are to introduce something like that and require that of coaches. To be quite honest, it's a little bit of a challenge to find people who want to coach middle school sports. Most people that
That's a whole nother interview.
yeah. So we try not to put a whole lot of extra requirements on them, although many of them take initiative on programs like that.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for your time for this interview. I appreciate you. And until April Fool's Day, have a have a great time. All right.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Bye.